Salutations, future Twig. Past Twig here once again with another card call out for everyone. And this is Precursor Golem, 5 mana, nets you a 3/3 artifact creature Golem. And I've actually got to take a second to say that I've never understood the card art of this card up until I have it now blown up and larger in scale than it usually is when I'm looking at it. And I finally can see the little face there at the very top of that rock and the kind of outlines of him. I never understood. I thought it was just a rock, and I was so confused. So, hey, I learned something new today. Getting actually into the ability of this card, it basically states that whenever Precursor Golem, this card, enters the battlefield, put 2 3/3 colorless Golem artifact creature tokens onto the battlefield. However, it's the second ability that's very interesting to me, which says that whenever any player casts an instant or sorcery spell that targets only a single Golem anywhere, this can be your Golem, somebody else's Golem, that player copies that spell for each other Golem that spell could target. Each copy targets a different one of those Golems. So this is a fascinating ability because this is basically Zada Hedron Grinder, but only for golems. And I'll throw up the other card I'm talking about there on screen. But this is just amazing because I can't think of very many creatures that have this ability, and it's a colorless card, so this can go in any color deck you want. Now, obviously, there's the drawback, because, of course, you can target any golem with a spell that you have. Your opponents can as well. And so there's obviously, there's a big risk factor involved, but I think there are a couple of different kinds of decks where this card can really shine. And we'll get into those synergies here in just a second. But first off, let's talk about the pricing. So for pricing this is a 10-cent card, dirt cheap, bulk rare, wonderful. It's also played in barely over 7,000 decks. Virtually no decks run this card, which I can understand because that drawback I think scares a lot of people, but there are some different types of deck archetypes that really would benefit from this card being included. Let's get into them. The first kind of commander that could actually benefit from the inclusion of Precursor Golem is kind of an old nostalgic pick for me. This is Ishkatek Salvage Splicer. It was him and the other guy who I can't remember. I'll throw him up on screen as well. They were actually the very first commander deck I ever built, which was a Golgari commander deck centered around Golem Tribal. And obviously, being Golem Tribal, something that creates Golem when it enters and allows you to work with Golems, makes a lot of sense for a deck like this. And with Golgari, they don't mind creatures dying. They can recur creatures a lot, so you could potentially set up where you could sacrifice your Precursor Golem using a black sack outlook in response to somebody trying to target it so the Golem's gone, and keep all those 3/3 Golem artifact creature tokens around so that they don't die. And then, of course, you can always bring back your Precursor Golem, and this actually fits into what Ishkatek wants to do because you want to be putting artifacts into the graveyards. So I think that this is a great way to kind of nullify and gain value from all aspects of Precursor Golem and kind of like removing those downsides that you would otherwise have. Moving on, another janky commander that I think could make use of Precursor Golem is actually Errant Street Artist. This is such a powerful card because it's a 1-mana flash defender haste creature that allows you to basically copy any target spell you control for 2 mana. The downside being that the spell that you're copying cannot have been cast. So obviously this card was printed during Streets of New Capenna. It's designed to work with the casualty system where basically you can sacrifice a creature with a certain amount of power to copy a spell. Because it cannot copy spells that were cast, it can only copy copies of spells. However, if you read the text of Precursor Golem, you'll notice that whenever you basically target it with a spell, it then makes a copy of that spell that targets every other Golem you control. And this means that you can then have Errant Street Artist copy that copy. So you could potentially hit them up with giving target creature +1/+1 and flying, and then copy that for other creatures. Or you could also use this with certain cantrips that say give target creature this ability, plus draw a card. Then you can draw extra cards using Errant Street Artist. There's a lot of synergies, I think, using those copies. The third kind of archetype that I think Precursor Golem do well in is an archetype where it can basically blink Precursor Golem in response to other players trying to target it with removal, which would then in turn target all of your other Golems. Now, obviously, you've got to be careful because with blink archetypes, if you target your Precursor Golem with a blink spell, it'll target all your other Golem tokens, and obviously when you blink them, they don't come back. So you can't just use a random piece of blink. However, a lot of blink commanders, such as Lagrella the Magpie here, basically have a blink ability built in that's very target specific where you can choose what creatures are blinked. And because it's a creature ability and not an instant or sorcery, you can get around that whole downside of Precursor Golem. So what you can do is you can have a lot of your blink in hand, like Slip Out the Back and all these other blink cards, and you can effectively target Lagrella, have her come back in, and then she in turn can blink Precursor Golem and whoever else, and then obviously you can have Precursor Golem come back in, make more tokens, expand your army, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of, I think, little synergies that can work with Precursor Golem. And that is actually all I have for you guys today. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and take care.